struggling to remember as far back as second reading of this bill, but I did say at the time that Clause 3 is designed to save money in the court system, and that the main savings would arise from people who pleaded guilty who should not have pleaded guilty. And the risk is so obvious that I'm surprised that there aren't any safeguards or legal protections included in Clause 3, because people need to know legal advice. They need to know whether or not they have a valid legal defence prior to making a decision whether to plead guilty or not guilty. And whether or not someone has a valid defence isn't obvious or straightforward. If it were, then we wouldn't have lawyers and judges of the huge talent that we have here in your Lordship's house. And the mishandling of all those COVID prosecutions shows just how badly the system can get things wrong when things aren't clear. Thousands of wrongly issued fines and wrongful convictions by magistrates. So defendants need independent, quality legal advice prior to deciding their plea. And the lack of any such safeguards in Clause 3 makes me wonder how this has got this far without some sort of exposure of this problem by the Noble Lord the Minister, because the risks are even greater for vulnerable groups, such as people with learning disabilities. The pressure of avoiding going to court might make pleading guilty online feel like the safer option, and the cost of getting a lawyer might again make the online guilty plea seem like the best option. But there's nothing in these proposals to ensure that vulnerable people are supported in making informed decisions. So the potential here for disaster is quite huge, and at the very least there should be signposting by the government to independent legal advice, screening for vulnerabilities, and checking whether people are eligible for legal aid. And I would ask the Noble Lord the Minister if the government are going to perhaps bring amendments along these lines at report stage, because it's potentially a really sensible idea, but I'd like to see it work well for the defendants, and I think to do that there have to be some changes.